Hey everybody, today we're making decorative patio stones. They're going to be pretty, they're going to be sparkly, they're going to be colorful, and we get to learn a couple new techniques. We're going to learn how to do exposed aggregate, and at the same time we're going to seed the concrete. So stick around, let's get to it. Alright, as you can see, I've already got my forms made here. I'm making 2 stones today. Now I made my forms out of 2x3. That's a nice balance between thick enough for a patio stone but not too heavy either, so it's going to be perfect. Now I made mine just 2-foot long lengths and screwed them all together. It's going to be perfect for what I need, but because these are custom patio stones, you can make these whatever size you want. Just make sure that the inside dimension is the size of the stone you want in the end. It's an easy mistake to make. To fill them, I've got 2 bags of pre-mixed concrete, and I figured that my stones are going to use 1 bag each. Now, in case you make different size stones from me, I've got a concrete calculator linked down below. It'll tell you exactly the amount that you need to fill up your form. So, now we got to mix the concrete. Actually, we got to prep the forms.
Which is actually pretty simple to do. This is just a big garbage bag that I tore in half and set underneath my forms, and it's mostly just there to catch any spillage and contain my mess, anything that flows over the sides while I'm pouring my concrete. And in the bottom of the form, I'm going to add about 1/4 inch of sand just to kind of waterproof the bottom of the form so nothing flows underneath of it, and it stops the concrete from sticking to the plastic. And because sand is one of the ingredients in concrete, it's not really going to hurt anything.
Okay, now let's talk reinforcement. Technically, these are patio stones. You don't have to. Ones you buy in the store don't have it, but it's never a bad idea, especially if you want these things to last for quite a while. I've just got this stuff here. It's like 5-inch by 5-inch squares. It comes in a 4x8 sheet, and you can find this in the concrete aisle. This is pretty good. This stuff I use quite often. This is actually the leftover piece from the last slab that I poured. If you don't have access to this, you can just use rebar pieces, or they make a diamond wire mesh that you can find in the concrete aisle. I've used as well before, like on my sink vanity. That stuff works really good. It's kind of used on the outside of your house for like parging and stuff. So either way, just find some reinforcement. The only thing you want to watch out for is you want to keep it about 1 inch from each edge all the way around. Other than that, doesn't really matter what kind you stick in there, as long as there's something in there.
Okay, now I can mix my concrete. Now, I'm going to mix it in a 2-bag mixing tub. Now, I'm only mixing 1 bag here first, and that's just because trying to mix both bags at once with them being dry is stupid hard. But I mixed the first one pretty runny. You can see there's a lot of standing water. Now, I'm adding some liquid pigment to this. It's just some charcoal pigment from Quikrete. And I find the liquid pigments a lot easier to work with than the dry pigments. I've had a lot of issues with dry pigments before. Anyways, I added my 2nd bag after that and kept on mixing. And you kind of want to just keep on adding your water sparingly until you kind of get it looking like this. It should resemble like wet oatmeal, I guess. But trust me, it doesn't taste like wet oatmeal. If you get a little on your hands, don't try it. It doesn't taste very good. Anyway, you want to add a bunch to the form till it should be about halfway full, and then spread it all out.
There we go. Close to halfway full. Perfect. Now I can add my reinforcement. And then finish topping it up. Okay, this is the fun part. Now what we're going to be doing is seeding the slabs. So, I've got fireglass here. I bought a 3-pack. I've got gold, platinum, and black. If you notice, one side of them is mirrored, the other side is colored glass. This is what we're going to be putting into the slabs to make them decorative. Now this part, you really can't screw up. You just sort of sprinkle it on there however you please, however it looks good, and however they fall, and however much you want. You can go as light or as heavy here as you please. I think that looks good for gold. Now we'll do platinum. I'll have a link to these down below in the description as well. There is multiple different colors you can get. So it really comes down to style. So you can dye the concrete in multiple colors if you want. You can add in a bunch of different colors of fireglass, or just one that suits your fancy. Just have fun with it. Let's call that good for platinum. Now black. Now this is the one I'm going to kind of go heaviest on, because it matches my charcoal. Now this is called seeding the concrete. You can do this with rocks, seashells, beads, whatever you please. Okay, but that's them in the concrete now. I think that looks good for me. Now what we're going to do is take and just tap them in. We want these to be below the surface of the concrete. So we're going to tap them down, and then we're going to start working it to bring the cream back up and bury them. I don't want to work it too much because I don't want to push them around, so I'm just going to tap until most of the cream comes back up. Alright, now they're mostly buried. I'm going to go back and forth softly, pull some cream up. You can see here how little pressure I'm actually putting. I've only got a couple of fingers on it. Now we want them buried. They will still be kind of visible in some places. That's okay. We're still going to be washing this thing later on and peeling up the top layer. We just want to smooth the top for now, as much as we can. Now we literally just need to wait. And if you notice, this slab is lower than that slab volume-wise. Apparently you can still have a really good calculator. You still have to check the size of the bag that you buy, but whatever. One thin one's not really going to hurt me for what I plan on doing with it. So now we wait. Alright, it's been about an hour and 15 minutes now since we poured these guys and then smoothed them out and left them alone. Now depending on the temperature you're working with, and depending on whether they're in the sun or the shade, you may want to do this about 15 minutes, 20 minutes sooner than I am right now, but I'll show you how to check for that. Alright, so basically to check if you're ready to work on your slab is if you can push your finger into it and you kind of leave a little bit of a fingerprint, but you don't push into the slab. There's no dent. And that's how you know you're ready to go. So it's still soft enough to be worked, but it hopefully shouldn't be hard enough that you rip it to pieces. Now I've just got a concrete edging tool here. And basically what we're going to do now is kind of start seeing if we can round over the corners. Now again, be careful with this because we don't want to peel up that glass that we've embedded. So first, just going to cut a line. Then I'm going to lift up on the front edge and push down slightly on the back edge. A little bit harder this time. And then rinse and repeat. Push down on this side, lift up on this. You see there I pulled a piece of glass up. That's what we got to be careful with. So I'm not pushing crazy hard. I'm just trying to roll this corner a little bit. Alright, now we've got the corners rounded up. I'm just going to use a trowel here and just lightly pass over it. Now, I'm not really putting any pressure down. I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just smoothing out what's here. There. And now we'll let them sit again for another couple hours. Alright, now it has been about 5.5 hours now at this point, and this is the part where you gotta kind of play it by ear. This could happen at the 3-hour mark, it could happen at the 6-hour mark. It really all depends on your temperature, your weather, your sun, whatever you got. But basically what you're looking for is you want the slab to be good and hard like that. You want it to be set and firm, and you don't want to be able to leave fingerprints in it anymore. But if you really look at it closely, it kind of squishes ever so slightly. The top is ready to be peeled off, but the slab won't fall apart at this point. So now we just got to rip off the Band-Aid, hope for the best, and go for it. Now I already preemptively washed that stone. I will admit I waited a little too long on my slabs, so I'm gonna have to scrub a little bit harder. That's not a problem though. Now the brush I'm using is just a small little brush. You can get these in the concrete aisle themselves. And I'm just gonna soak it first. And you notice my hose, no nozzle, the water is just coming out. That's all we need, is just a steady flood of water. So we soak it, and then we start brushing. Now, this is one of those things where you basically go as long as you want and get it as exposed as you want. You notice the top layer of cream is coming up, and eventually the glass is starting to pop right there. And the longer you brush, the more glass and rock you'll expose. The less you brush, the more sand you'll have. But in this case, we're going for exposure. Then what you can do every now and again is just stop and flood the whole thing, wash all the sand off, and see if you like the way it looks. And this is where you basically just take artistic freedom and either leave it or scrub some more. I'm going to do a bit more scrubbing. There we go, calling it.
The next morning you can come out and rip those forms off and see what I had. Now you notice the sides are still pretty dark, and that's okay. That's just because they couldn't breathe, they weren't evaporating. So that afternoon you come back and look at them and boom, look at that. The sides have lightened up considerably, and that's a good thing. That means they're evaporating nicely, they're shedding water off of the sides, of the top, they're curing evenly. At this point they're firm enough to move, just don't drop it because they are still fragile, you might crack it.
All right, now our last step is to apply sealer to this slab. Now these are way more important to have sealer on than even just regular concrete. Because we've removed the cream layer off the top and exposed the inside of the slab, we really need to seal it, because otherwise this guy will decay and peel up and chip and just flake away the sand and stuff over time, and way faster than normal. So we need to seal it. There's a bunch of different sealers on the market. Double check the instructions of the one that you buy. You may need to wait 2 weeks up to a month before you apply sealer. This stuff here is made by Quikrete. It's just a cure and seal. In other words, we can apply the sealer while it's still curing, and it'll help with the curing process. So this stuff I can apply within hours of taking it out of the form. Now before we apply the sealer, I'm just gonna brush it off with just a small brush to remove any dust and stuff first. And we can apply a thin coat to it. Now we want to apply a couple of coats, and I'm just using a small little 4-inch paint roller here, and the sealer actually goes pretty far. So you can see, you just kind of push it around, especially once the roller gets saturated, it goes pretty far. The big thing is you don't want to let any of this.
Well, what I was going to say before my microphone decided to cut out and die on me was you don't want to let the sealer sit in any big heavy puddles and heavy streaky look like this. You want to smooth the whole thing out so it's a nice even coat over it, otherwise you can get some weird discoloration and splotchiness.
Oh man, that looks so much better now that it's got the sealer on there. So that's that, you guys. I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked the process and found this unique and interesting, and hopefully it inspired you to maybe get out there and get your hands a little bit dirty and make something pretty and sparkly and decorative for your yard. So thank you very much for watching. If you guys want to support the channel, I've got links down below to all of my plans. I've got indoor plans, outdoor plans, all sorts of stuff. So thank you very much, and until next time, I'll see you later.